okay, let's see. So I just got back from my camping trip in the Gifford Pinchot National
Yeah.
Forest.
So how did that go?
Girl, that was pretty weird. It was really weird. It was super exciting and really kind of there was a point where I was really scared and
Yeah.
but it all worked out. Everything was great. And I think it was a really magical experience overall. I stayed with some friends in Portland and I used to live out there in my early 20s. And so I got to see some old friends and see what's going on with them and see my neighborhood and how much everything's changed. And then, like I said, we went out to the woods. I went with two friends who had no idea anything, they're not like woo woo or sensitive well, they are sensitive, but I don't think they consider themselves to be. They're both nurses. So obviously they're,
Yeah.
empathic and
Yes.
intuitive. But I went out there and I wasn't expecting anything. Really, I just wanted to go. I'd never been camping. I went to a cabin once at Lake Crescent Lake, like a really long time ago, but that's it. That's the only other time. And so I just wanted to spend some quality time with my buds. And so we went out there and the first night I had fallen asleep on the futon in the lower level of the cabin, which was tiny. It was like 2 rooms and then 2 bedrooms up on top. And it was one of those old guard stations
Oh, those are
that was
fun.
yeah, it was cool. It was like
Yeah.
you had to light the gas lamps with a lighter on the wall. And I'm like,
Yep.
this doesn't seem very safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cozy and I was so jet lagged and tired that I just passed out on the futon. And my friends were doing a puzzle and they kind of made fun of me for falling asleep, but whatever. Um, so they went upstairs and went to bed. And I was so tired that I just stayed there in my sleeping bag, just on the futon. Like I hadn't even taken my my plain clothes off or anything. And I snapped awake at some point, and it was like I was just completely wide awake, like just so alert and aware. And I was like, "What? Why am I awake right now?" And then I heard boom, 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 and something very large with booming footsteps came directly behind me. I was sleeping behind this window and it stopped. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is that? Oh geez." I mean, I knew what it was, but I don't know. I'd never had that experience before. Everything up until then was really kind of circumstantial and like, orbs in the woods and like kind of more on the ethereal plane.
Yeah.
But this was like enormous and very physical, and it was right next to me, and my body was like shaking, and like I felt fear, but it wasn't this like primal sort of like something's going to kill me. It was just, I think it felt more like the vibration, like the frequency was so intense, and I was just like, ugh. And I just said in my mind, I'm like, this is too much. I'm really scared. Can you please back off? And then I felt this like energy come in through my crown and into my chest and kind of like suck all the fear away. And I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
this okay. Okay, I
Yep.
can deal with this. This is okay." And then I fell back asleep. But it must have been short-lived because I woke back up because I heard more footsteps going around the cabin. And by then I was just like, I can't do this. I can't stay. I'm not going to look out the window. I can't stay down here. I have to go upstairs. I'm just too freaked out." And so I went upstairs as quietly as I could. I tried not to wake up my friends. And there was a bunk bed in one of the bedrooms. So I went into that room and like crawled up on the top bunk. And the friend that was in that room was still asleep. She was passed out. And as soon as I put my head down on the pillow and I was trying to get back to sleep and I was like doing my breathing exercises to try to, calm down, my other friend kind of yells from the other room. She's like, "Do you hear that? There's something walking around outside." And I was like, "Oh, really?" I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to, terrify her or freak her out or anything. But I was like, "Oh, I didn't hear anything." And she's like, "What are you up here for?" And I was like, I couldn't sleep. And then we all fell back asleep somehow. And then in the morning, my friend was like, "What was that? What could that have been?" And I showed her the map. I was like, "Well, there's all this stuff out there." I showed her like the what is it? The like map, Bigfoot map project map,
Yeah.
which shows the national forest, and it's just covered in icons. And
Yep.
she's like, "Oh, whatever, Gina. You think everything's Bigfoot. You think everything's ghosts, and I was like, "Well, I mean, kind of, sometimes." In the appropriate occasions, yes. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, we went hiking, we went to some waterfall, and then we went to those mineral springs in Carson, the hot
Oh, oh,
springs, which
nice.
was really so cool.
That would
And
be
we,
nice.
like it was really fun. But we were the whole day we were trying to kind of convince ourselves that, like, it was this or it was that or whatever, and, um, but probably by about 4 p.m., I was thinking to myself, I'd probably stay here alone sometime." But by 6, I was like, "No, there's no way I would never, never in a million years would I stay here by myself." Because it was like, I don't know, something about it. After it got dark, it got really just instant spooky.
Yeah.
And we were just, like, eating in silence and just all 3 of us just kinda listening, like, eating and just listening for whatever, any sound. And, we were putting together a puzzle, and my friend, like, bumped her elbow on the coffee table, and everyone was like, like,
Oh,
everyone jumped. And we're all just like, "Oh, this is so dumb, you guys. Why are we freaking" we're all just freaking ourselves out. And as we said that, we started to hear more stuff outside.
really?
And my friend was yeah, it was like crunch, 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 boom, 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 crunch, crunch. And my friend was like, "It's gotta be like raccoons. It's gotta be raccoons." And I'm like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. And then she's like, "There's mice. We know there's mice in the cabin." And I'm like, "Do mice make that sound? Like boom, boom, booming
No,
footsteps?" I don't think so.
no.
And yeah, and so we were this is kind of funny, but we were all so freaked out and, like, frazzled that we all just kinda took a Benadryl and went to sleep. I was like, "I
Um,
can't. I need a night of sleep." But so they fell asleep, no problem, and I woke up at, like, 4:30 in the morning with this nudge to, like, go outside. I had to pee anyway, but,
yeah.
like, something was telling me to go outside. And I went outside and I looked, and there was a big white orb in the sky behind the trees, and it just kind of, like, was just floating around, and I was all, "Oh, you guys, thank you. That was so great." So,
Very
yeah.
cool.
And then
Very
we left in
cool.
the morning. That was it.
So you were only there for
So
2 nights?
mhm,
So
yeah.
let me ask you something about that first night where did you hear the footsteps inside the cabin, like, coming up to
No
you? Okay,
no, well, I was sleeping right up against the wall, and
okay,
the cabin was so small that, like, I don't even think one of those guys would be able to fit, honestly. I mean,
okay.
they would, but
Yeah,
yeah, it came within, I would say, 4 or 5 feet
okay.
of me.
Did you notice any difference in your body, like, after that happened? After you got that feeling, did you notice any difference? Like, was there anything that you noticed the next day in your body?
Oh, did I get a healing or something?
Anything?
Um, well, I just felt super buzzy. Like, my body was kind of like, I don't know if my vibration got raised or something, but I felt, like, pretty clear and pretty, like, just, yeah, I guess just, like, vibrating. My body was vibrating a lot.
Well, it almost makes me wonder if maybe, you didn't have, um because your what you just described was very similar to what happened to us when we were staying with Barb at her
Mm,
camp out this summer, and, as each camper showed up, we would get visited. It was almost like they were coming to check on us one by one as each of the campers showed up throughout the week, and,
oh,
it was, uh I've had them where they've come up and, they're standing there, and normally you're scared because 'cause you're going, "Oh my gosh, there's something here that's enormous, and it's within touching distance from me," and then all of a sudden you go to sleep, and that's to me, it makes me wonder if there isn't, something that they do to maybe make you relax and go to sleep and kind of let you know, "Hey, don't worry. This one's
mm,
gonna be freaked out if I don't, give this one a chill pill," you know, "put this one to sleep, and then while they're asleep, then we're gonna maybe check and see how they are," and kind of maybe do like a scan because 'cause I've had them literally Tanya and I, my friend Tanya and I both have had them literally scan where they've told us to sit still, close our eyes, and don't open them. They wanna come close, and Boy, I'll tell you, if that isn't nerve-wracking to close your eyes and listen to the footsteps come up to you
That's
and then
exactly what I
feel
did. Yeah.
yeah, and then feel them just real feather-light touches, but
Oh.
where they touched us, um, I found out later, I was getting a hold of my friend Mel Scahan, and I asked Mel, and Mel said, "You know, when this happened to you, were you injured in those areas that you were being touched?" And it was like, well, yeah. As a matter of fact, I was. I had broke, you know, had a horse whip back and break my cheekbone. I had my nose broke too many times. My thyroid was taken out, my gallbladder. So, I mean, these were like little touches that I was getting. And so was Tanya. And so it was almost like they were like checking to see, like, are you, you know, we're just looking you over and seeing if you're okay and what happened. It was almost like they were getting a download of information. And that's why I
Mm.
was wondering if maybe they knew that you were uncomfortable, that you were, you know, scared, because it's very unnerving if you're not ready for it. It's very unnerving.
Or even if
And
you think you are ready for it. It was it was such a,
exactly.
like, next level
Exactly.
thing that happened.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a next level thing. And but when they give you that feeling of you're going to be okay, you're safe, that peaceful feeling that comes across you, you're like,
Yeah.
I'm okay. And I've had them do that. And it was that was if they hadn't have done that, I probably would have passed out from fear.
Mm.
So, I probably would have passed out,
Yeah.
but they did do that, and so it was almost like a calming, "Sit still, relax, we're gonna get some information about you," and that's kinda makes me wonder if they
Right.
didn't do that to you.
I did notice that, like, my left hip wasn't hurting as much as usual. It felt a bit better. So maybe they could have, you
Yeah,
know, helped calibrate my energetics or something.
yeah,
But yeah, but like it's so oh man, it's such a trip because like I I keep not that I like crave more interaction with them, but I welcome it. Like I
yeah,
love going out to the woods every night and I love the interaction that I have with them. And I really assumed I'd be like, "Oh, I'm fine with it. It's totally fine." But when it happened, all these thoughts kind of came into my mind like, "This is a different place. I've never been here. I don't know these guys. I don't know
yeah,
if they want me here or maybe they don't want us here. Who knows?"
yeah.
And that I feel like that's kind of what freaked me out more. I mean, the physicality of it too was like it sounded huge, the
Foot
footsteps.
yeah.
Yeah. It sounded really big.
Just from what you were describing to me, um it was most likely an adult that came to check you out, and then maybe the next night with the smaller, faster footsteps, that may have been, you know, more of like an adolescent or child playing and running around and stuff. So,
Right.
but yeah, they'll come in and they'll watch you, and they're probably used to people showing up at that cabin, and it's like as each people come to camp, they're checking them out, you know, and, bears get blamed for a lot of stuff that it's not, it's actually them just coming to see who you are, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't know you. They may have already through the what we call the moccasin telegraph. It's a term on the res that means that basically you talk to somebody, they talk to somebody, and the gossip goes down the line until eventually
Right.
everybody knows. And, we've had clans that were neighboring clans of ones that we work with that when we got over to them, they didn't know us, but as soon as we introduced ourselves and said, I know this clan, and started naming the names of the ones that we knew, and then told them the name that they had named us, then it was almost like they went, okay, we're friends. If you're friends with them, you're friends with us. And then we had a really pleasant interaction. So they
Aw.
will talk to each other, the neighboring clans. If you go into an area, most likely, they already know that you're coming.
Mm.
They've already kind of, assessed your intentions.
Right.
So
Well, I I kind of feel like the group that I'm interacting with here, and this is in Michigan, you know, it's like half a
mm,
country away. I feel like they kind of like put the signal out. Like they gave it to me to go
yeah,
gave me the nudge, and then I feel like they kind of just like put the signal out there because everywhere I went, we were get like I was getting all sorts of stuff. Like I went to I went to Forest Park, and I had gotten the nudge before even coming out there that I should go there and do some land clearing, do some energy work. And so I went out there, and I had been out there in 2016 with my wife, and we loved it. And so I walked up to the like the big poster that was there. I took a picture of it to send to her. And as soon as I did, and this was in the middle of the day in Forest Park in Portland, I heard this like I think it was samurai chatter, honestly. It was like, "Oh, hey, wah," and it was, like, all
So cool.
echoey, and I was like, "What?" Like, to tell you the truth, I thought it was, like, a person at first. I was like, "What the heck is that?" Like, hope whoever that did that was okay. I didn't even think about it,
Yeah.
but I was walking but I was walking around, and I found this little trail, and I sat down on a log, and I started doing my thing that I do, and in the middle of it, I felt all these different beings come in and, like, kinda give me a boost and help out, and I was all, I was like, "Wow, this is really cool." And
They
then I started
will.
hearing yeah, I started hearing, like, trees snapping and, like, stuff running around underneath because I was on this, like, really steep hill,
Yeah.
and that's when I was like, I wonder if they're here because I know they're at Mount Tabor, and I was talking to Sam Chandler at the airport on the way back, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, there's people have definitely seen stuff at Forest Park." So I was like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
"Wow,
Did
isn't
you
that
go with
cool?"
Ashley at that time? Were you with Ashley?
We hung out at Mount Tabor for a few hours, not that day, but a few days beforehand, and we
Yeah.
saw it was so sad. Most of the structures have been taken down by the forest service.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so I got to see, like, remnants of stuff, but then you could also see that they were, like, rebuilding. They
Oh,
were building
yeah.
Yeah, they were building new ones, and so it felt
Yeah.
like they weren't super sad about it, they were just kinda like, "Whatever, we'll build more."
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. They will.
yeah, it was cool.
Yeah,
It was
well,
so much
that's a
fun.
hot spot. I know Ashley's talked to us a lot about some of the things that she's experienced over there. She went in with a friend of ours by the name of Carlos, and Carlos
Oh,
and her experienced a bunch of stuff too. And it really doesn't matter about whether or not you're near a population or whether you're way out in the middle of the boonies. They're there. And
yeah.
doing grid work is so um Tanya and I do grid work, and we go into it, and we're both empaths, so we can sense a real uh, uh, a dense, dark, just a constraining almost feeling in certain areas, and we're like, nope, this is one we're gonna do some work here. And
Mm,
she'll bring out her sound bowls, she'll bring out tuning forks, divination rods, even dowsing rods, and then we'll start speaking in light language and just praying, just literally praying over it. And, I work with, you know, the Lord. So, I mean, for me, I even speak the name of Jesus, when we're doing this. And she'll do the same thing working with angelic, forces and stuff in working with, like, especially like archangels. And when we do this, the energy becomes so incredible that wind will pick up and
mm,
start moving. The trees will start blowing. This wind will just start swirling around us. And then afterward, there's such a peace and there's such a calm, and we get giggles and laughter coming from the forest and just these beautiful thank yous, and then we'll even pray for them at the time and go, can we pray for you too? Yes, please. So we'll be praying for them
aw,
too. And when you do that, it brings light to that area. You don't know what happened there. There could have been something, a residual effect from decades ago. There could have been, who knows, something dark, and so going in there and doing what you're doing, that's really important, because you know our job is working with doing grid work and doing this. And even if you want to even call it a religious thing, if you want to, as a Christian, we're supposed to pray for all things. And so,
right.
and as Native American, you're supposed to make everything that you do a prayer. And so
Mm,
bringing that in, and it just lifts everything up and makes it beautiful and light. And we've had some pretty powerful experiences with the forest people because of it. So, yeah,
Yeah, and it was so just intuitive, I didn't even give it a second thought, I was just like, "Oh, okay, I'm supposed to come here," because I didn't get that feeling at Mount Tabor. I didn't even think about it, but when I went to Forest Park, I was like, "Okay, yeah, this place, I'm definitely gonna do it here."
yeah,
And then afterwards, because I was looking, Sam told me, he was like, "Oh, yeah, people have definitely seen, Sasquatch stuff in that park," and so I was looking online. I didn't see any official anything, but I did see a lot of stuff about sketchy things that happened at Forest Park, and I was all,
yeah,
"Ooh, okay. That
yeah.
makes sense."
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
negativity that you can release and dispel, you know? You can
Yeah.
send it Carlos it the way Carlos does it is he just demands it gone in the name of Jesus and poof, you can just feel it, the energy be completely lifted. Um, but it's such when you get doing that, the more empathic you become because you sense it more and more. The more you do it, the more you sense it. Um, there was a time that it happened. I was actually driving around with my friend, and we were in a side by side. We were driving along. We were up on a mountain. We were having a blast. We were laughing, joking, and then all of a sudden, I just got just impacted with this horrific sorrow that just made me just start bawling. And she looks at me and I said, stop the rig. And she stops it. And I go, what happened here? Because she was taking me up on a mountain above her house. And
Mm.
she just kind of looks at me like, and her jaw drops. And I'm like, just bawling. And I'm like, what happened? And then she proceeded to tell me that at that spot, her best friend had to put down her favorite horse who had gotten ill.
Oh,
And it was that
yeah.
very spot that we were driving over that she had to do the euthanization. So it was
Mm.
like, and here I was picking up on that residual sorrow from her having to lose her horse, and the grief that goes along with that. So it's like you'll get to the point where you'll start feeling it more and more as you're doing this grid work. More and more you'll feel it, and it'll be like, okay, I don't know what I got to do, but I got to do something right here. And then you'll get to the point where you can start doing it, and that's important because I think maybe that's why we're here. I think as empaths,
Yeah.
that's why we're here.
Yeah, totally, like the ground crew
Yeah.
cleaning up the grids and, kinda making, new networks and reconnections. I I got that sense, and then I came home, and I feel like I got a validation because the first night that I came back out to the spot that I go to, which is, like, 6 minutes away from my house,
Yeah.
um, I as soon as I get out the front door, I see an orb shoot past, and I'm like, "Okay, alright. This is already starting. Let's see what happens." And I get down there and I'm there maybe 5, 10 minutes, not very long. And it was a beautiful, clear night. And I was just telling them about the trip and like all the people that I met and how much fun I had. And then I saw something to my left and I turned and looked and I don't know if it was what everybody calls eye shine, but it looked very similar. It was like I don't know, the tallest one must have been, like, 20 feet up in the tree, and it was, like, this, like, wobbly, spinny little red and purple orb that, like, was, like, spinning, and then it got a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger, and it, got probably about like that, and then another one that was a bit lower, and then a third one that was even lower than that, and it was, like, the impression I got was that it was the whole family, and they were like, "Yay, we're so proud of you," you know?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then they sent me that love frequency, and I'm just, like, bawling in the parking lot, and
Very cool. Very
yeah, it was
cool.
pretty fun. It was
Yep.
super fun. I loved
Have
it,
you talked to
so
Penny Rummel about orbs?
I have an interview coming up with her, I think, in a few weeks. I know she just came out with a book,
She
which
did.
is
She came out with her second
yeah,
book. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Fantastic. She's going to be really the one to talk to about those orbs. That woman, she's a
Mm,
magnet for them and she can spot them. While we were around the campground at Barb's camp, Penny was just snapping photos and there were orbs everywhere. Big
oh,
ones,
wow.
full on silhouettes of the forest people. I mean, she's got
Right.
some ones that are actually even kind of funny where they were teasing her and deliberately posing, in these funny poses to just tease her. I'll let her talk about that with you, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that
Yeah,
is so cool.
she's got
I
a
love that.
lot on her table with stuff like that, and it's really cool.
Um, I actually well, I wanna get into your story because you're such an interesting person. You've had so much experience with all this stuff, but okay, I'm gonna quick tell one more story. So I have a friend, his name is Chris. He lives in Connecticut, and I interviewed him about a year ago for just he's a healer, he does all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
But during the interview, he was like, it's weird. I've been thinking about Sasquatch a lot lately." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool. I mean, that's kind of I have some experience with that, so we could talk about that." And then after the interview, he starts having dreams and he starts having his own interactions where he lives. And we weren't really in contact for about, I don't know, almost a year. But then out of the blue one morning, I was like, "Gosh, I got to text him. I got to see what's up with him." And I did, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, things are really ramping up around here with the footprints and structures and all sorts of stuff going on." So we had another interview, and during the course of the interview, he like wrote in his phone all the different experiences, like different dreams and all this sort of thing. And he's reading them off to me, and he was like, "Okay, this one's from November last year. I had a dream where this male Sasquatch came to me and he said his name was Cole Ra." And I was like, "What? That's the guy that I interact with, and, like, he's the first one who came to me." And I was like, "How do you spell it?" And he's like, "KOL." And I was like, "Yes, that's the same guy. He's coming to you in your dreams too." And, that just totally blew my mind that he's like, I feel like we're getting connected on purpose from
Yeah.
behind the scenes. But, we were talking about in the interview, we were talking about something about, Kiwani Lapsaritis. He has a, what is it? The Psychic Sasquatch book, and it's got
Yeah.
a cover with this big Sasquatch bust on the cover, and we were just talking about it for some reason, and, later that day after that interview, I went out in the woods, and I never really take photos anymore, like, trying to get them on camera. I don't know, for some reason, I just kinda fell out of it. But that day, I asked them, I was like, "Hey, do you guys feel like showing up on camera?" And then I just started taking pictures of my dogs who are playing in the tree line. And in one of the photos is what looks to be exactly it's like an astral image of that photo on Kawani's book. I'll send it to you, or maybe I'll put it in the video. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so funny. I love their
Oh,
sense of
cool.
humor.
Yes,
Yeah.
they absolutely have a sense of humor, and sometimes their sense of humor is a little off color, but they're people. Some of them some
Mhm.
of them like a good dirty joke.
Do you have any examples? Let's hear.
Uh, well, okay, so I can tell you one that happened to my friend. So my friend, he's been my mentor for about 5 years. He's a medicine man over in Utah, and he's Lakota, which is the same tribe that I am. Um, and he grew up from the time he was a little kid, uh, around them. So he was so young when they first introduced themselves to him that he never really thought that they were anything other than just his friends that lived out in the backwoods. And he would climb on them and sit in their laps and ride their backs, and they were his family. And
Mm,
so it took a long time for him to accept me as his student. So because he doesn't trust a lot of people and he refuses to let anybody know who he is. He remains
mm,
anonymous no matter what, and if I ever leak out who it is, he'll no longer teach me.
mm,
So very, very strict about it. But he told me once about the older male that kind of took him in first when he was like 5. He showed up one afternoon outside of his house. Now, he's an older man. He's a few years older than me, so he's probably in his 60s. Um, he saw him outside his yard and he was motioning to him, come on. And he had a real worried look on his face. And so he thought, oh, something's really wrong. Something's messed up. Somebody's in trouble. And so he just dropped what he was doing and he followed him. And he said it took hours, and it was a really, really rough trek. But he followed him up the mountain, and he said it was a very steep mountain, very tough terrain, and it was a hard hike, is what he called it. Um, when he got to the top, he came up on a mud bog, and he was standing at the end of the mud bog, and he was looking down in the mud bog like, you know, well, my friend thought, "Oh my gosh, somebody fell in the mud bog," and he's supposed to help rescue a child or whatever, At the time, he's thinking like we are, going, Okay, something's got him bugged about this mud bog, so I got to go over there and help." And he goes up to the mud bog and he's looking, and as he's sitting there looking at it, he realizes that there's an impression in the mud, and it's a very large butt print. Where he said it was just the butt print, and it was obviously male. I'm not gonna go into detail, but he said when he realized what he was looking at, he looked over at his friend, and his friend started laughing, and he just walked away. Took him up, made it look like there was something horrible that he needed to be there to rescue. When he got there, it turned out to
Wow.
just be a print of his of his rear end.
Yeah. Wow.
So they have a sense of humor, definitely.
That is hilarious. Oh my gosh. Wow. I would be
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, that's awesome. Have you had any bizarre experiences like that?
What I've had is, I've had a couple of them that I've seen their, things that they thought were funny. Like, there was one time that, I experienced mindspeak. It's, something that took a long time for me to learn how to do. I had to almost take classes on it from Tanya and a few other people. But I finally figured out how to do it. And
Hmm.
one night I was going out to dinner with my two sisters, and they are avid non believers. They do not believe in anything. And it's a conversation that I never bring up around them, because if I do, it's the same old, same old. I'll get,
Right.
you know, they'll call me stupid. It'll just be it's a subject I never bring up around them. So if something
I get it.
happens when they're around, I just have to keep my mouth shut and not say anything to them. Well, we were getting ready to go to dinner, and it was nighttime after dark, and where we had parked our car was at the end of the parking lot that had a hillside that was just immediately the end of the end of town. No lights, no houses. It was from the end of the pavement at the end of the parking lot, immediate wilderness.
Wow.
And my older sister has a little dog who's like a Bichon, I think. Well, just this fluffy, cute little white dog, very, very girly, and my sister dresses it in little dresses and puts little bows in her little, the top of her ears, and puts little dresses and skirts and booties and dresses it up like a little
It's her
kitten.
baby.
Well, I was getting out of the car, and my sister decided to let the little dog go potty. And so she picked her up, and she's wearing her little crinolines and her little tutu or whatever she was wearing. And the dog's walking around, and I start hearing laughter. And I'm going, why am I hearing laughter? And
Mm.
so I kind of closed my eyes for a second, because my two sisters were talking to each other, and I know they weren't paying attention to me. So I just kind of closed my eyes, and I immediately could see them sitting up on the hill, about maybe 20 yards away from the parking lot. And it was two young men with a one female that was young. We're talking
Mm.
teens, late teens, and the
Sure.
two boys were sitting shoulder to shoulder, and the girl was sitting a little bit above them. And they were cracking up and laughing. And the one male, I put it out there, and I just said, "I can hear you." And usually they'll either shut up and I don't ever hear from them, because it's like, "Oh, she can hear us. Everybody be quiet," or they'll start talking to me. So I said, "I can hear you," in my head. And when I did that, I heard one of the males go, "Why cover on dog? Why cover on dog? Like he was trying to understand why there was a dress on the dog. And so I'm going, "Oh, great. Now how am I gonna explain this to somebody?" How do I explain this? So I just said in my head, I went, "My sister never had children, and so um, her dog is she dresses it up like a child because it makes her feel good." And that's all
Right.
I said, and I immediately heard the girl behind them that was sitting, between the 2 shoulders above them. I heard her go, "Oh," like,
Oh,
"Oh, that's so," you could just hear like, "Oh."
like
And
sad.
and
Too
I it
sad
was
for her.
audible, like, it was audible enough that my 2 sisters kinda looked up the hill, and they just turned and kinda looked back, like, they it just didn't dawn on them what was happening, because they looked up, and then they just went back to talking to each other, and when when I still had the girls going, "Aw," the 2 guys look at each other, and like I said, I had kinda had my kinda was seeing it in my mind's eye. The 2 men look at each other, and then they just went, "Bah," and just started laughing. They thought it was the funniest thing that somebody would dress up a dog as a child to replace a child. They were laughing, but the one girl that was with them was just, oh, like
She
she was
got it.
sympathetic. Oh, totally
Yeah.
sympathetic. Yeah. So that was
Wow.
one time.
What a crazy story. That is amazing. Um, I I mean, I do hear, mindspeak every once in a while, but I don't really put stuff out there very much. I'll just kind of get things, every once in a while, like, what was it? I was watching the Flash of Beauty documentary, the outtake with Kevin Keeney,
Uh-huh.
who I'm sure you know him, and he was telling a story about how he wanted to know if they had a name for him, and they said that they did have a name for him in their language, and they said it, and then they said or he came to the conclusion that it means, like, the seeker or the watcher, the looker, and as I'm watching this, I just thought in my head, I was like, "I wonder if my friends have a name for me," and I heard it really loud. They said, "The gentle one."
Gentle one. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's beautiful.
I know, I,
That's
like, teared up.
beautiful. Yep.
I wonder why it cut out just now.
I don't
That
know.
was
It's
strange.
been it's been cutting out a little bit, but
Oh,
that's beautiful. If they've named you that, that's okay. I want you to know something. When they name you, that's an honor. That's an honor for them to have named you. So take that as an you were given a very special name. So you
hmm,
take that name and you hold it in honor. Don't use it lightly, because when they name you something because they've accepted you. Um, I do know that there's names that they'll have for people that they don't like, but when it comes to something like that, that's an honorable name. So you
aw, I love
take
it.
that very, very special.
Hmm. I think well, I was having a talk with somebody a few days ago who I had met, I don't know, through the course of doing all this stuff, and she lives in the Pacific Northwest, and I told her about my experiences out in Portland just now, and she was like, "I wonder why they're, like, so eager to meet you. I wonder why, because they don't really have that I haven't really noticed that sort of demeanor with most people out here." And I was like, "Well, I live in the UP of Michigan, which is very rural. Like there's my town has maybe 4,000 people, and there's not a lot of people up here to connect with, and I feel like most of them have kind of this harshness about them.
Yeah.
Just a lot the culture I feel like has kind of a harshness. It's a very big mining community, big into logging, and I feel like people have this attitude that the environment is theirs to do whatever they want with. And that's not true, first off. But I
Yeah.
think maybe I do have a much different energy than most of the people here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it makes sense. Yeah. So I love it. That's so
Well,
great. Thanks for telling me that.
yeah, that's a very Not I see that too. I mean, for them to say that, oh yeah, absolutely, I could see that about
Oh,
you as well. So for them to have said that and named you that, when you go somewhere else, when you go to another area, like let's say you go back to the Gifford National Forest, when you go to another area where there's a different clan, introduce yourself by that name. Make sure that
oh,
you tell the forest people there, the clan where I live has named me Gentle One. And then they'll
uh,
go, oh, we've heard of her. And that has happened to us.
okay.
They talk about you. They talk about us with each other.
Mm,
Absolutely. Back and forth.
that,
So
that's
you can go to another clan, and if you introduce yourself, you can say, you know, my name is Gina, but your people call me Gentle One.
mm.
Boom, they'll know you right then and there. My son my son was named, he's always wearing this big cowboy hat, and he's got all these feathers, and they leave him feathers because they know he puts in his hat band. So it looks like I mean, he's just got feathers coming off like an ostrich, but he's, they named him Big Hat. And so when he yeah, when he goes
I
to
love
some
it.
other place, he introduces himself, "My name is Big Hat," and we've actually had people who've said, "Oh, you know who Big," we've literally heard them, "You know who Big Hat is my son." "Oh," and then
Oh,
we're getting hoots and hollers and wood knocks, and the woods come alive, so they know. They talk about us. They talk about you. They talk about, people that they can interact with. They talk about you, so you're known in a
hmm.
circuit, I guess. You're
I
known
guess
in
we
the
are. Yeah, I
circuit.
guess we are, huh? That's kind
Yeah.
of what I was talking about how I got the nudge to go out there and then I finally did it. And then I felt, I went into Forest Park and I got like greeted by somebody and they were helping me out. And then I came home and I got this like all all these lights in the woods and kind of like a yay, we're proud of you. I do feel like they kind of have us move around and do grid work for the
Yeah.
planet, and I feel like they know who we are energetically, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna put the put the idea in their head to go here," and then, I think I really do think that they help us out so much more than we realize.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
well, I wanted to get into I would like to talk about a little bit more about you, about how you came into all of this whole world of Sasquatch people. And then also I did want to talk about the campouts with Barb. I got to talk to her yesterday and we talked about it a little bit about the camps, but she hurt her foot and she wasn't able to see. You told me that story about um the elders and I don't know if
Ugh,
you feel like sharing that publicly, maybe not, that which is totally fine.
uh,
I
which
asked
one
her.
was it? Because you're still cutting out. I'm only getting about a
Oh,
half of a
jeez.
word each time. So I
That's
caught
so
that you
lame.
said that Barb was talking about something that happened at a camp out. Which time? Which
Oh,
one?
the first time you and I talked together and you told me the story about the elders that came through.
Yeah.
She hadn't experienced that because she had hurt her foot. And
Yeah.
so if you don't feel like talking about that, that's okay. But I just it's such a beautiful story.
Did she say anything about whether or not it helped her at all? Because I haven't been able to talk to her. So did she say anything about if it actually did help her?
I don't think she didn't tell me whether or not it helped. But she went to the doctor and
Okay.
she's
Okay.
using, I think, some liniments and stuff from Ashley and other people.
Oh,
So, yeah. It might have, I don't know.
on a deal like that, and that was one thing that I did ask was I asked, um, like I said, the medicine man that mentors me, I asked him why. Uh, okay, let me start from the beginning. I'll talk about what happened where we were sitting under the big tent and we were all in a circle. It was just becoming evening time and night was coming on and Tanya was there and we were talking She wanted to teach how to do light language and how to basically invite the forest people to come in through light language. And there were quite a few people that wanted to learn how to do it. And so she said, "Well, Anja, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. I want you to be the first one to show everybody how to do it." And so I went,
Mm,
"Okay." And I got in the hot seat and I just let it out. And I at the time that I did it, when it happens, and I'm sure you experience it too, when you're doing grid work, you can feel it in your body. You can feel the energy bring up, and you can feel the hair on your arms stand up, and you can just feel the energy when you start doing that. Well,
right.
after I was done and I went and sat down, and then everybody else decided that they didn't wanna have a hot seat. It was too it's embarrassing for somebody who hasn't really learned how to do it yet. Um, and for those that go to church, it's basically speaking in tongues. So, you just let spirit speak through you. You may not know what needs to be prayed, so you just open your heart to the spirit and let God, creator, spirit, however way you want to put it, be in control and say what needs to be said so that good can happen. And everybody else just kind of was kind of whispering it. And then we started drumming a little bit. And then I was sitting there and it started getting dark. And all of a sudden, I just heard really loud a woman's voice go, "They're here. They're here. The Council of Eight has arrived." And it was like instant. I mean, just even talking about it, the hair on my arms goes up. And it was like an
Mm.
instant, oh my goodness. It's if you've ever been to a powwow and you've ever experienced when the elders arrive, the veterans, the men of high honor enter the arbor, usually carrying the flag. They do an honor song for them, and then they dance out into the arbor and clockwise. And it's everybody rises, everybody stands, and it's everybody's quiet. They keep their children quiet, standing beside them, and it's a high honor thing. And it's usually if there's visiting tribes, it would be the chief, it would be the holy man, it would be high honor. Okay. When these people showed up and they said the Council of Eight has arrived, it was instant, like, oh my goodness, hush, like, oh, they're here. I mean, it was so loud and so powerful. And it was almost like I got a download of information where, without even anything else being said, it was like I instantly got this knowing that filled in the gaps of the elders were being brought in to join us at our powwow. And at that point in time, there was a holy man that was with them, a medicine man that was with them. And so it was like immediately I stood up and I told everybody, oh my gosh, they brought with them a holy man and they brought with them a high ranking medicine man. Somebody's going to be healed. And it was like they were asked to come in and be there because there were so many people that had ailments that were there at our powwow.
Oh,
And
okay.
Barb had her foot. There was another girl had, I think, a broken ankle. There was somebody else that had issues with her feet. I had some health issues. One of my other friends had health issues. There was a lot of people that had some health issues. And it was like they had arrived and said, "We're here at your disposal. Use us. We're going to help if you allow us to do this." And so I let everybody know that that's what I was receiving, and then I could literally see them standing shoulder to shoulder, just like these huge mountain of people standing just shoulder to shoulder like a wall against the dark, against the canopy of the trees. And as it went on, it got emotional. I mean, there was a lot of people that felt just who, like, it just was making everybody vibrate. I mean, there wasn't a person there that didn't come up and say, I'm just vibrating. I mean, just you could feel it within your entire body, just the electricity. And that went on the first night. And then the second night, at the end, when everybody would get ready to go to bed, it was like they would just retreat. They would just turn and just fade back into the darkness. And then they would go off into an area actually behind where I was camped and go way out in the trees. And then they would just stay there during the day while everybody was moving around and we were talking and stuff. And you might hear some whistles or hoops or hollers, but the holy men stayed back, way back. And it was almost like they stayed as a group within themselves and it kind of in their own little, I can't even say, it was almost like they had their own little area that was where they stayed apart from us. And then they
Mm.
would come in the next night at the same time at dark and you could see them just standing. And it was, Penny got orbs. There were some who saw eye shine. Others felt it, like myself. And some of us got mindspeak. And this went on the whole time through the camp out. And then at the end of the camp out, I knew that it was the very last day. We were all getting ready to leave. It was the last night that we were going to be together. Everybody was going to end that night and go to bed and get up the next morning, and half of us would already be packing up and leaving. So I asked them, I said, what can we do for you? Because you've been here, you've honored us with your presence. And normally when the holy men and the chiefs come to a powwow, they're gifted Pendleton blankets, they're gifted tobacco, they're gifted food, they're gifted sage and sweetgrass and cedar and anything that they could possibly need. They're gifted as a thank you for having come to those people. And I said, well, what can we gift you? What can I give you? What can we give you in honor of what you've done for us? And I got a very distinct, we don't need those things. We don't need blankets. We don't need sage and sweetgrass. What we want is your honor song. And it was like, oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So I knew what I was supposed to do. And I asked to borrow a hand drum from somebody. And I I basically told everybody, I said, we've been asked to do the honor song so that they can leave. And it's the same thing when you're at a powwow. At the very end of the powwow, at the very last day, they do the honor song. And it's a very powerful, powerful song that's done on the drum. And the one that I do is the one that's done from the Inland Salish. And it's an eagle spirit song, but it's an honor song so that as the veterans, the chiefs, the elders, as they get ready to leave, everybody rises and stands in silence while we do the eagle spirit song. And then that's when the flag and the staff are brought out the very last time to end the ceremony. So I went ahead and I just belted it out and sang it and did the 4 directions while I was doing it. And then at the end, it just turned, nodded, and disappeared back into the trees. And it was like,
Wow.
it was such a moving experience for me because being Native American, for me to be able to, excuse me, for me to be able to sing them the honor song was like, thank you so much for this honor, for having come to us and let me be able to do this for you. And the very last, at the very end, I walked out to the area where they actually stay out in the woods. And are we
Hello.
back on? We
Yeah, we're
back?
back. Yeah.
Okay. So just to pick up where I left off, the very last, as I was packing up my stuff and getting ready to leave, I walked out as far as I could down the trail where I knew where they stayed during the day because everybody else was breaking camp and taking off and packing up their stuff. I went way out there and then I actually found where I was able to mind speak with them, and I thanked them for having come and joined us. And I said, "Is there anything that you would like to say to us before we leave?" And the only thing that I got was just, "Well done." And so and I'm not saying that well done for what I did, but well done for what Barb has going in that camp. Because that woman, her heart is with the forest people and their heart is with her. And so anything that we can do while we're at her camp brings honor to her. It really
Mm,
does. It brings honor to her for them. So, um, just like I said, it it's not something that I did. It was more good. Finally, somebody is doing what Barb deserves, and she does. The woman deserves it. She's a fantastic individual.
she really is. Yeah, I love talking to her. She's amazing. I also feel like it was a great group effort, you know? Like it's such I feel like it's probably really rare that a group of humans would come together in that way for the Sasquatch people and for the forest in general,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I think it's
Well,
I think that was
they're
like a
all like
landmark
minded.
moment. Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
we're glitching really bad.
I have never had an episode that has had this type of technical problem. So I think they're probably with us. But I just want to say thank you for doing that. That was an incredible story and then also just what great work you guys are doing in the interdimensional relations, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like it's so needed and yeah, I'm in awe. I love it.
Well, if you ever get a chance, get yourself a hand drum and go out in the woods and sing to them. They love it.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
love
I
it,
will.
especially if you're singing in light language. And really, I want to get down to some just the bare facts here. As a Native American, when we're singing and we're singing what sounds like, syllables of just random stuff like way high, ya hey wa, ya hey hey oh, it's light language. It really is because it's not actual language. There's a lot of songs that include, the speaking, where they'll speak sometimes in English, they'll sing sometimes in the native tongue of whatever tribe they are, but then they'll use, they'll throw in, way hi ya hey yo, things like that. That isn't an actual word, it's spirit word, so spirit knows what needs to be prayed, so it's the same thing when you're on the drum. If you don't know what needs to be prayed, just sing with your heart and let it come out.
Yeah,
That's all you can do, just let it come out, and it'll come out. Creator knows your intention.
exactly. I understand people's reservations around light language. It can be especially for people who have throat chakra issues, like being seen, being heard. I can totally understand how people would not they would feel really shy or
Mhm,
I used to have I used to have so even alone by
mhm.
myself practicing light language, just that letting go was
Yeah,
really was really challenging for me, but once I finally did, it was amazing. I could feel the energy
yeah,
come through and yeah, it's
yeah.
really powerful. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, and you have to look at it like, I even had somebody when I was in church, I had, the pastor tell me, he goes, because I felt the same way even with speaking in tongues, and he goes, "Look at it like this, look at it as an offering. You're humbling yourself before all of creation, all of creator. You are humbling yourself, you're putting ego aside, and you're making yourself humble and allowing yourself to be vulnerable,
mhm.
and that's an offering in itself. It really is.
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, it really is to put your ego aside and to sound silly to some others. Yeah, it's definitely that is an offering in itself. You don't have to have crystals or tobacco or anything just to humble
No.
yourself and to be a vessel for
Yep,
creator is definitely an offering. So
yep.
I Love it.
Absolutely. And, you know, we have to look at the forest people for just a minute. They have nothing to offer. They have no clothes, they have nothing. They have
Mm,
nothing materialistic. So they have themselves, they have their heart, they have their honesty, they have their truth. It's truth. Um, truth, if you really want to dig down that rabbit hole, truth is letting go of all ego and going, okay, here I am.
yeah. Yeah. And that knowing that we are all one. And so, I mean, how can you really embarrass yourself in front of yourself?
Yeah,
You know what
true,
I mean?
true.
Yeah. So,
And if somebody's gonna, make fun of you or whatever, that's on them. That's their own insecurity coming out, their own ego. You just, no, let them do their own thing and continue on where you're supposed to be because your path is your path. It's not theirs.
exactly. Exactly. You don't have to take offense to it or take it personally. Just let it go. Everybody to each his own. And like
Yep.
my friends who, they were convinced it was, or maybe they weren't convinced, but they told themselves it was a mouse or a raccoon or a possum. Like, let
Yeah.
them, if
Yeah.
that's what makes you feel better, you know?
Yeah. And it could even be their own fear. I know of people who are
Yeah.
terrified of the forest people. And so we've literally had them surrounding us and going, they're right there. Oh, no, no. We had a rock thrown at us. Oh, no. It was like, okay, I know you're scared. It's okay. You're fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to deny it. Just ask them to not make you scared. Just say, "Please don't scare me." And yeah, and they're most 9 times out of 10, they won't. It's the kids. It's the kids. But you gotta realize the kids are huge, you know?
Yeah.
And when you're telling a kid, "Knock it off, quit trying to scare us," they think it's funny. They're children. And it happens all the time. Yeah.
7-foot tall children.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe they're
Apparently
playing games with us.
apparently they want us to close.
Yeah, I think it might be time. We
I
can
think
do another episode if you would like to. That would be really
I
fun.
would love to. I would love to, and I love
Awesome.
talking to you and hearing your stories, and you should really get a hold of Tanya too, because I think you
I
and
was gonna
Tanya would
ask
have a
you.
lot to talk about.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I would love that for sure. And yeah, I'm definitely next, I think next Barb camp out, I'll definitely be there.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. I would
Yeah,
love to be. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna do everything within my power to be there, and I'd love to be able to meet you in person, and I'm sure Tanya will
that'd be
be
so
there
fun.
too. So
Awesome. Okay, well, any last thoughts before we close this out?
Just the one thing that I tell everybody is go with respect. Be respectful. Be honor and truth is 100% with these people. Keep your heart pure, keep your actions true, be truthful and realize that they are people. They're not monsters, they're not monkeys, and they're not myth. They are real. And be respectful and you'll be surprised what happens when you do. There were some amazing things. Can I put a real quick plug in for my team?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're with Legacy Discoveries in Search of the Truth. You can reach us on YouTube, Facebook, and you can also contact Tanya, and she is the existential empath, and she teaches on how to train yourself for not just mind speak, but also your intuition and learning how to use your empathic abilities in a way that will help you instead of um, cause you any harm. So it's very, very knowledgeable woman. So, and also Jesus Bion, who is with Breaking Bigfoot. He's also a satellite member of our team. So check out Jesus Payon and hope to see you all there.
Yay! And I'll put all of your, information in the description as well, so anybody
Awesome.
can just click on it and they'll take you straight there. Thank you again, Angelique. You're a wonderful person, and you're really fun to talk to.
Well, thank you. Thank you, gentle one. I give you honor, and we'll be meeting you in person, hopefully.